On this day, the 14th of February 1939, a vast steel hull began its journey into history. At the Blumenvoss shipyard in Hamburg, the German Navy launched Bismarck, a battleship that would become one of the most famous and feared warships ever to sail. Even at launch, Bismarck represented a dramatic shift in naval power. Over 250 metres long, displacing more than 50,000 tonnes fully loaded, and armed with 8 15-inch guns capable of striking targets more than 20 miles away. Designed to challenge Britain's long-held dominance of the seas, Bismarck was built to be fast, heavily armoured, and devastatingly powerful. She was intended not merely to fight enemy warships, but to break into the Atlantic and sever Britain's vital shipping lifelines. For a nation that depended on imports for survival, this was an existential threat. After her commissioning in 1940 and a period of trials and training, Bismarck sailed on her first and only operational mission in May 1941.
Accompanied by the heavy cruiser Prinz Eugen, she entered the North Atlantic with orders to attack Allied merchant shipping.
The Royal Navy, fully aware of the danger she posed, responded immediately. What followed was one of the most dramatic naval confrontations of the Second World War. In the early hours of the 24th of May 1941, in the cold grey waters of the Denmark Strait, Bismarck and Prinz Eugen were intercepted by 2 British capital ships, the battlecruiser HMS Hood, pride of the Royal Navy, and the newly commissioned battleship HMS Prince of Wales. At just before 6 in the morning, the opposing forces opened fire. The engagement was brief, brutal, and decisive. Within minutes, Bismarck's gunnery found its mark. In a catastrophic explosion, Hood was torn apart. In just 8 minutes of combat, one of Britain's most famous warships was gone, taking over 1,400 men with her. Only 3 survived. The shock of Hood's destruction reverberated across Britain. For the Royal Navy, this was not just a defeat, it was a challenge that demanded an immediate response. Although Prince of Wales scored several hits on Bismarck during the engagement, the German battleship escaped the battlefield, damaged but still operational. What followed was one of the greatest naval chases in history. Determined to avenge Hood and eliminate the threat once and for all, the Admiralty committed an immense force to hunt Bismarck down. Battleships, cruisers, destroyers, aircraft carriers and patrol aircraft were all thrown into the pursuit, stretching from the icy waters near Greenland to the open Atlantic. Bismarck, however, was wounded. Shell hits had ruptured fuel tanks in her bow, leaving a telltale oil slick trailing behind her. Though still capable of high speeds, she could not fully escape detection. The chase became a race against time. If Bismarck could reach occupied France, she would be protected by air cover, U-boats and coastal defences. The critical moment came on the evening of the 26th of May. Aircraft from the carrier HMS Royal launched a daring torpedo attack using slow, fabric-covered fairy swordfish biplanes. Flying low over heavy seas and intense anti-aircraft fire, one torpedo struck Bismarck's stern. The impact jammed her rudders, leaving the battleship unable to steer. Now trapped, Bismarck could only circle helplessly in the Atlantic swell. At dawn on the 27th of May 1941, the final battle began. British battleships closed in and opened fire at close range. For over an hour, Bismarck endured a relentless bombardment. One by one, her main gun turrets were knocked out, her superstructure reduced to twisted wreckage, and fires raged from bow to stern. Though she fought back as long as she could, the outcome was inevitable. With the ship crippled and resistance impossible, the order was given to scuttle her. Charges were set, valves were opened, and the crew abandoned ship. At around 10:40 in the morning, Bismarck rolled over and sank beneath the waves. Of her crew of more than 2,200 men, just 114 survived. From her launch on the 14th of February 1939 to her destruction barely 2 years later, Bismarck's story became a symbol of the changing nature of naval warfare. She demonstrated both the terrifying power of the battleship and its growing vulnerability in an age of air power, coordination, and intelligence-led warfare. As one of the most powerful battleships to have ever taken to sea, Bismarck posed a huge threat to the Royal Navy and Britain's vital sea lanes, a threat which had to be neutralised. With the loss of HMS Hood, the Admiralty were determined to destroy Bismarck, and a mighty task force was sent to hunt her down. The scene was set for a mighty clash of warships in the North Atlantic and the demise of one of the world's great battleships. Our Sink the Bismarck gift set is a 1200 scale ship model kit, ideal for those looking to progress in their building journey and recreate one of the most dramatic naval stories ever told.